Let's talk about gratitude.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, no pun intended. I'm like, thank you. Cause I love this. I love,
Yes.
cause I so
Yeah.
believe in it and I've seen the power of it. Right. And I always like to say right off the bat that gratitude, what I'm talking about is not toxic positivity. We're not talking about pasting a smile on your face if things are hard. So it's not about that.
Right.
We got to acknowledge when things are hard. And I'm a health psychologist by specialty. So I'm helping people with cancer, diabetes, autoimmune issues, really challenging journeys they're navigating. So I certainly don't, walk in and say, let's be grateful for all this. Like that's not what I'm doing, right? It would feel like dismissive and so many things. So, but what I've found really is that gratitude, what we're talking about is just strategically, intentionally focusing our attention, focusing our thoughts on what is meaningful, valuable, or good in our lives. And when we do that, right, because we know our thoughts directly impact how we feel and our behaviors, when we're focusing on what is meaningful, what is valuable and good, oh, it's so powerful in terms of helping people feel better and to move them forward behaviorally. So again, they're still leaving space for the real challenges that are there, but it's just saying, in this moment, I want to help myself move forward, or I want to help myself feel better during this hard moment. What can I focus on? Even if something doesn't feel good and positive, that's why I don't often use the word positive, honestly, because I'm helping people with really hard stuff. So I talk about balanced or meaningful. Did something feel meaningful to you today? And I call it shining our flashlight, really like focusing our attention on that meaningful, aspect of our lives or something meaningful that happened. It's amazing how that can just help how we're feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
And just taking care of, I'm like, this is not me. This is Thich Nhat Hanh, who was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. This fantastic Vietnamese Buddhist monk who said, I will paraphrase, but basically the best way to take care of the future is to take care of the present moment.
That's right.
Right? It's just like such wisdom. Be here now. And that idea of in this moment, if you can be focusing your thoughts on something that is meaningful and good, it's going to help move you forward. Really being around people who, if you can find a community of people who accept you as you are, right? So finding that is so important. If we can have even just a few people in our world who embrace and accept us as we are, so that, because it's vulnerable to put ourselves out there and say, well, this is what I really, really want for myself, because rejection feels scary and putting ourselves out there, that vulnerability feels scary. But I am so with you. When we step out with that courage to say, this is really what I want to be doing and putting out into the world, it's amazing all the good that it can do. So getting around other people who are doing that and who support you in that can be so nourishing and so nurturing and helping you to live who you truly are. And I think that's what really living your best and to live that excellent life is about.
I agree. In the beginning, we started talking about like who this conversation is for. And I wanted to say, I believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So there are some folks who may be listening from the perspective of the way that they show up at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage people to understand that who you are is who you are. And so your approach and the toolkit that you bring to work is probably the same toolkit that you're using at home with your family, right? So this is just as much, this conversation and this book, The Happy High Achiever, is just as much for the person who kind of self-identifies as a type A person, or the person who really wants to achieve a lot of things, as it is also for parents who are perhaps wanting to achieve greatness in their role as a parent. And I think that what's beautiful about this work, Dr. Anderson, is that it can also provide a roadmap to how you can model for your children what life can look like when you allow yourself to be happy, even while you're achieving or
Yes.
because you're achieving.
Yes. I love that. And you're so right on. Is this really is something that crosses over professional, personal,
Absolutely.
health, all of these arenas of our life. Because so we were talking about behaviors, but also talking about our thoughts, right? Our self talk. So you might be shooting yourself, in your personal life around your health. Well, I should be going to the gym, 6 days a week. And then at work, you're like, I should be able to handle all of this. And, look at what other people are doing. So there's also, I call it the troublesome trifecta in the Happy High Achiever. I talk about the troublesome trifecta are the three cognitive distortions. So three unhelpful ways of thinking that are really problematic for high achievers. And one of them are should statements. So just shoulds all over the place and a lot of social comparison around that. So, well, Dr. A, look at what, my colleague is doing or what my friend is doing. I should be doing what they're doing. Right. And again, that can be professionally, awards or promotions, but absolutely personal life. I have so many people who are like, well, I should have a house like theirs, or I should be able to go on a vacation like they are, or I should look like that person. And so shoulds in so many arenas of their life. Also, there's all or nothing thinking is the second of the troublesome trifecta. All or nothing thinking is thinking in extremes, right? Like people will say, everyone should be totally blown away by my project, if they're presenting something at work, or, everything in the house needs to be clean for it to be okay, right? This all or nothing, this everything. I call it pressure cooker thinking because it just puts this crushing tension. It's like looking for perfection again. And we're not automatons. And what excellence means to me is that you can be high achieving while acknowledging your humanity. So that means we can strive to be our best, right? We got to know, though, our best will differ by the day. We're human. So, like after a good night's sleep versus if we're dealing with the flu or jet lag or heartbreak, our best on those days will differ and that's okay because we're human, right? So to take some pressure off of ourselves, not everything always has to be done and perfectly. Like that's just not realistic. And those types of unrealistic expectations really drain us and often lead to
Yes.
what I call perfectionism fueled procrastination. When people make something so big in their mind, right? Everything needs to be done, or this has to be just right or perfect. They get so overwhelmed by that unrealistic expectation that behaviorally
Hmm.
they don't even start. They just stay
Right.
stuck, right? So all or nothing thinking, we really try to help people know, find the middle ground, find the middle way, find that gray, not the extreme where we're expecting something that's unrealistic. Strive for excellence, strive for high standards. It's not about acquiescing to mediocrity and stagnation, but it is about be real. We are human. So allowing for that humanity is actually what then fuels sustainable high achievement. So that's should statements, all or nothing. And then the last one of the troublesome trifecta is jumping to conclusions. How often have we all done this, right? So it comes in kind of two flavors. It's negative fortune telling and mind reading. So negative fortune telling is when patients are like, Dr. I know it's not going to go well. Or like, I know, that they won't like me or I won't get the promotion. So it hasn't happened yet, right? And so I often encourage people, try our best to navigate uncertainty with curiosity, right? So worry is thinking about the future with fear. Wonder is thinking about the future with curiosity. So if we can just stay in that place of wonder, I wonder what will happen, rather than assuming and negatively predicting that something won't go well, which is not going to motivate us or help us in that moment.
Right.
I help a lot of people
Right.
before job interviews or public speaking. If they're telling themselves, I'm going to stumble over my words, everyone's going to see that I'm incompetent, or they'll notice I'm nervous, all these things like that is not going to help them. Again, there's that thoughts, feelings, behaviors. If you're telling yourself these unhelpful thoughts, how are you going to
You're
feel?
telling yourself these unhealthy thoughts. That's what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yes. And you're going
Yeah.
to feel that your stress and anxiety is needlessly ratcheted up. And then behaviorally, what happens, it usually manifests that we're not going to be able to perform our best. We're not going to engage as authentically because we're in our head worrying, right? So when we can shift to just a place of wonder, I wonder what will happen. If they're going into a job interview, if I can get them to a place of, I don't know what will happen. I hope I get the job, but I'm just excited I got the job or got the job interview, thinking about, even if they, especially, I love gratitude. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So if they can say, you know what, I'm just grateful I got the interview. Of course, I want to get the job, but I don't know what will happen, right? I always try to stay real with people. We don't know what's going to happen when there's uncertainty, but can we be grateful for the opportunity? Absolutely.